Hi, this is Robin Wallace, and welcome to week 4 of our 8-week class series, Renew. This week, we are going to be talking about meal planning, preparing, how to stick to a budget. So I hope you find some helpful tips. Okay, so one of the things that can make um, eating out or eating at home challenging and eating healthy challenging is all of the prep work that goes into it. It requires you to grocery shop, to meal plan, to prepare your food, to budget. So there can be a lot of challenges that make it more challenging to eat healthy. But today we're going to go through some different tips and tricks that can help making eating healthy easier, more affordable, and more budget friendly. So, some things to think about when you are meal planning. These are 3 key steps that are going to help you to be successful. Select your recipes, shop for your ingredients, and prepare those ingredients. So, we're going to go through each of those things. What it is important to remember is meal planning is not a month full of meals where you have a different dinner cooked every single night of the week. It does not mean that every single meal needs to be home cooked and that there's no space to plan for when you eat out. It doesn't need to be just for families. If you are a household of 1 or 2, meal planning can still work for you. It doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a lot of work, and it doesn't have to be inflexible. So sometimes we get ourselves overwhelmed because we try to make meal planning too complicated. We try to make too many recipes. We try too many new things at one time. We don't factor in the fact that we are going to eat out, and so we overcook thinking all our meals are going to be at home. We think that just because we're one person, it's not worth the time and it's cheaper to eat out, or that it has to be a lot of work, a lot of chopping, a lot of prepping, a lot of grocery shopping, but you can simplify it and make it a plan that can work for you and your family. So, first, you need to start with selecting your recipes. Key tip here: plan a few staples. We all have meals that are our go to meals, easy things that we put together. We typically always have those ingredients on hand. So, as you're making your meal plan for the week, think about what are some of your staples, what are common ingredients, and what are things that you already have in stock. The last thing we want to do is create waste. That's going to discourage you from wanting to continue to meal plan. Nobody wants to spend money on food that's not getting eaten. So you need to do an inventory of what you have in stock. Then you can pick a couple new recipes to try. So sometimes what sets us up for failure is we try too many new things all at one time. And remember, new recipes are going to require you to buy new ingredients. So you need to mix and match some new with the old and comfortable, so that you don't overbuy on too much food, and also that you don't overwhelm yourself trying to do too many things. Think about what your schedule looks like for the week. So you need to factor in things like the fact that you're going to probably have leftovers and you're probably going to go out to eat at some point. So you don't need to make 7 dinners, right? You could probably make 3 or 4 dinners, and that would be enough to carry you through meals for the week. So sometimes we think meal planning is challenging because we're actually planning too much food. You need to think about how busy you're going to be. If this is a week that you're going to be slammed at work, this is probably a week that you want to plan very quick, easy, minimal prep meals, right? If it's a week where your schedule is going to be a little bit calmer and you're going to have a little more time, maybe that's where you want to try a few more different recipes, new recipes, because you're going to have a little bit more prep time. Okay, so you need to think about what's happening that week. And then I can't encourage you enough to have some go to no cook or quick cook options that you just kind of have a Rolodex in your mind of these are some quick and easy things I can pull together on days when I don't feel like cooking, or maybe I got home late and I don't have time to cook. So when you're thinking about like a no cook or a quick cook option, still keep my plate in mind. So think about what are easy proteins that I could either cook quickly or not have to cook at all. So obviously you don't want to pick something that you have to thaw and is going to take a long time when you are getting home from work at 7:30 at night, right? But something like an egg is a fast, quick protein that you could cook in a couple of minutes, and now you have a protein. Canned tuna would be another example. Deli meat that you get from the deli, you could get a low sodium option. Um, Preparing some meat ahead of time so you already have some cooked meat that you can just pull. Think about your vegetables. Maybe it's raw vegetables that you already have cut and chopped, so you can just mix and match with that, like a canned tuna with some carrot sticks. You could also do some veggies that are like fairly quick to saute. Think about your fruits. Think about what you might like to have for a carbohydrate. Is it bread? Is it a few crackers? Is it some brown rice? And mix and match those things together. You could think about dairy. Do I want to do a yogurt? So, just to give you an example, if I'm getting home late, one thing that's a go to for me is a veggie omelet. It's quick to just chop some veggies real quick, throw them in a pan, saute them for a minute, throw the egg on top with a little bit of cheese. And now I have a more balanced meal because I have protein, I have dairy, I have vegetable, as opposed to maybe stopping and grabbing something or just eating a bowl of popcorn, or something that's not going to really provide a balance of multiple food groups. Another option might be a can of tuna fish with a few crackers and some carrot sticks, and even some grapes if you'd like. It's not something you had to make. It took very minimal time, and it saved you from having to stop and get fast food. So think about what some of those options might be for you. I've listed here some great resources. Eatingwell.com has a lot of really good recipes. You can actually filter by some categories like dinner ideas, quick and easy meal ideas, lunch ideas, salad ideas. There's all kinds of ways you could filter to give you ideas for recipes. Spark People is the same way, and Pinterest can be another great resource. So sometimes we can get stuck in a rut. And just looking up some ideas of different things to prepare can kind of remind us of maybe some foods we forgot about, and freshen things up a little bit. The next thing that you need to do after you've selected what your meals are going to be for the week is actually shop for those ingredients. You can't cook what you don't have in stock, right? So make a list, double check what you already have in home. Be a little bit flexible with that list. So, for example, if you're making a recipe that calls for kale and you already have spinach in stock, maybe rather than going and shopping and buying kale, you substitute in that spinach, right? So double check what you have in stock. When you're planning your meals, maybe think about, is there food in your fridge that's going to go bad that needs to be cooked? Make sure you work that into your meal plan. And then it's also really helpful to group your list by food groups. So, for example, all the fruits you plan to buy, all the produce you plan to buy, all the bakery items, all the meat. That way, when you're at the grocery store, it's kind of easy to navigate and make sure you get each item and you don't miss an item on the list. When you're in the store, think about sticking to the perimeter. So grocery stores are designed to make you want to buy, right? They intentionally make those long aisles in the center of the store with no breaks in between. So you have to walk the entire aisle, right? It's because they want you to see all those foods and impulse buy. Our more staple ingredients are typically on the exterior of the grocery store, right? They're in the back or to the sides. That's so you have to go through those aisles to get to things like the meat, the eggs, the deli, stuff like that. So, most of your key ingredients are going to be in the perimeter. So, try to stick to the perimeter, stick to your list, only go down the aisles where you know you need something. So, for example, don't walk down the ice cream aisle if you know you're not trying to buy ice cream that day, right? That's going to help reduce the impulse buying. So, really try to stick to your list and don't go hungry, right? If we go to the grocery store hungry, that's when we tend to impulse buy and throw things in that we don't need or we're not trying to buy. And that's also when we tend to overspend. So, same thing with sticking to your list. One of the reasons why we can feel like cooking at home and trying to eat healthier can get expensive is if we don't make a list, we actually tend to buy way more food than we actually need. So try to make your list ahead of time and really stick to your list. When you get home, think about preparing your ingredients. So if you have days where you feel like you have more time, like a Sunday afternoon, something like that, maybe think about doing some bulk chopping, getting some of the cooking done, so that you have some items you can just pull when you have maybe a more hectic day. Freeze your items in the correct portion size. This might take more time, but it's going to help you in the long run. So, for example, if you buy a pound of hamburger meat and you're cooking for one, get some Ziploc bags and make yourself individual sized portions of that meat. That way, when it's time for you to eat a burger, you're only having to thaw what you think you can realistically eat. Cook a couple of meals at a time. So when you make a meal plan, think about ways you could use something in multiple meals. So, for example, I just talked about hamburger meat. Maybe one day you're making hamburgers, maybe another day you're going to make meatballs. So go ahead and prepare both of those items together, and then you just have to pull out the meatballs at the time you're ready to eat them and heat them up. Pack your leftovers in meal containers, and this can help you for lunches because then you can just grab and go or eat it again the next night. Um, if you're bulk cooking, what you can also do is as you prepare one night's dinner, go ahead and put the extra serving in a meal container for the next day. That can also kind of help you not go back and overeat at that dinner meal because you've already um, packed and boxed and put away the remaining food for the next day. Don't forget to check your pantry for items that need to be used, especially that produce that can rot in the bottom drawer. Make sure your pantry is stocked with essentials. So try to have common ingredients that you use often, always in stock in your pantry so that when it's time to pull that out, you have it. Another thing that can really deter us from eating healthy is the expense, right? But I'm here to challenge you today and ask you, is eating healthy more expensive? So for $20, you could buy a four Whopper combo meal, or you could buy all of this food: the broccoli, the strawberries, the meat, the beans, the nuts, the frozen vegetables, the hamburger meat, and the juice, as well as 10 pounds of potatoes, right? You could also buy one pizza, which would feed your family for one night, right? Or you could buy a package of Italian sausage, a bag of frozen fish, some tea, some beans, some carrots, and some crackers, right? How long do you think these ingredients are going to last you. For under $10, you could get a bag of frozen French fries or a 10-pound bag of potatoes, a box of whole wheat noodles, bananas, and frozen vegetables. For $10, you could buy a 24 case of Coke, or you could buy a cucumber, a bag of green beans, a pound of grapes, a pound of bananas, a pound of brown rice, and a box of whole wheat spaghetti. Which one do you think is going to last you longer? So sometimes grocery shopping and trying to buy healthier ingredients, it can feel more expensive at the onset because you're having to buy a large portion. So you're having a large ticket item, right? But when you actually think about over time and how long that food is going to last, it's actually going to last you a lot longer than food that you buy out, right? So just think about, for example, if you buy a salad in a restaurant, it's usually going to cost you anywhere from $10 to $15. If you took $10 to $15, you could buy not only everything you needed to make a salad, but probably meat and several other ingredients, and you could probably make enough salads to last you a week, at least a week's worth of salad, right? So even though grocery shopping might be more money than at the front end than maybe stopping and buying food, it's going to last you a week, 2 weeks, whereas that's only going to last you that one night. So in the long run, you will actually save more money trying to get back to cooking in your own kitchen as opposed to eating out. Some things that can help your budget. The number one thing is sticking to your list. Resisting impulse buys. This is going to not only help you reduce how much money you spend, but it's also greatly going to help you with food waste and not overbuying. Remember, you've made a meal plan, so you don't need additional items. You've already planned for what your meals are going to be that week. You can definitely buy generic. It does not have to be name brand. Buying in bulk when possible. So I showed you that example of like the 10-pound bag of potatoes. That's going to last you a while, but it's also going to cost less per potato in the long run. Make sure sometimes too, you're paying more for convenience packaging. So if you're trying to save money, it's also worth it to buy individual items. So for example, if you buy things that are already like peeled and chopped, so for example, like a pre-made veggie tray, that's going to be more expensive than buying the individual items that you would put in a veggie tray, and then you would have to cut them yourselves. So you need to kind of balance, am I trying to save money? Would I rather buy the ingredients not prepped and prep them myself? Or am I trying to save time? Would I rather spend more money and maybe grab something like a veggie tray that's already inconvenient, ready for me to eat? You are the best to decide what will work better for you. Remember, your items can be fresh, they can be frozen, they can be canned. Remember the tricks, like canned fruit needs to be in its own juice or water, not in syrup. Your frozen vegetables need to just be the plain vegetable, not something already with sauce and things like that that could add sodium. But like frozen vegetables, are very cheap and affordable, and they're frozen right at their peak point, so they're preserving all of those nutrients in them just like a fresh vegetable would. So that can be a great affordable option. Remember to be flexible, so swap out items for sale items or seasonal items. So for example, if you buy asparagus out of season, it's going to be very expensive, right? So for recipe calls for asparagus, but you see that zucchini's on sale that week, maybe instead swap that item out and save yourself a few dollars. Don't be married to exactly what the recipe says. Use the price per unit to compare items. So you need to look at the tiny square on the price tag that tells you the price per unit so that you can compare. Because if you just try to compare prices, some items might contain more food. So even though they're more expensive, they're actually cheaper because you're getting more food for your money. So make sure you're comparing the price per unit. Look for coupons. Most grocery stores have an app where you can download coupons before you go. And if you struggle with time or you struggle with sticking to your list, consider curbside pickup. This cuts down a lot on impulse shopping, but it also helps if time is something you struggle with because you can make a click list and then you can swing in and pick it up on your way home from work, and it can save you, an hour or two's worth of grocery shopping each week. So consider curbside pickup if that's something that you need help with. So let's look at the numbers. Eating out just 2 times less per week can save you almost $1,000 a year. Taking your lunch to work, which is about usually $4 a day, compared to buying your lunch out, which is usually about $13 a meal, can save you over $2,000 a year. Making better choices in your restaurants, skipping the drinks and getting water, skipping the appetizers, splitting a meal, taking home leftovers can save you another $2,000 a year. Not getting the supersize, sticking with a smaller or medium can save $1,000 a year. Eating your leftovers. 25 to 40% of food is thrown in the dumpster. Food waste is a huge problem in this country. So eating your leftovers, buying only how much you need, making a plan so that you're not buying more than you need can save you another $1,000 a year. So when you add all of that up, you can save almost $6,000 a year by getting yourself back in the kitchen. Now, that does not mean you can never eat out, right? We know that that's a realistic part of our plan is to include some meals to dine out. But if you reduce that number and try to pack your meals for work more often, try to eat at home more often, you can save yourself a lot of money even buying the more expensive, sometimes healthier food. So a meal is 325% more expensive at a restaurant than a meal cooked at home. So meal planning has so many benefits. It's going to save you money in the long run. So healthy eating is not more expensive if you're buying your groceries and eating at home. Get the whole family involved. Bring meals back to the table. It'll save you time in the evenings because you've prepared things. It'll be less stress over what to cook. It'll be more variety. And best of all, it'll be better nutrition for everyone. So I hope you have enjoyed Class 4 meal planning, and we look forward to seeing you next week for Class 5.